Well, good morning. Good morning and happy Sunday, YouTube family, those who are tuning in from wherever you're tuning from. I am Rev Wendy with the Community of Compassion, and I am live for our Sunday Spirit Talk. These are sort of mini sermons that I put together for my channel and do them every Sunday to give us some inspiration, to give us some motivation, to get us through the week. I appreciate all of those who have been tuning in. I am blown away by the support that I've been receiving. I oftentimes get people who go back and look at the video during the week and will send me a note. They'll send me an email to say that they really appreciated the talk. I've had several opportunities to sort of counsel people on the side, and that's what this is really about. This is not about me having a YouTube channel or excuse me, or me getting any type of recognition for myself. This is just what I do. Folks, this is my purpose. This is what I believe God has called me to do, to help people, to help them be all that they've been called and created to be, and to encourage and to motivate and to bring joy. And so I hope that those of you who have been tuning in and listening to some of the messages, I hope they've helped you. Because here's what I firmly believe. For me, if just one person sends me an email or shoots me a note and says, you know, Reverend Wendy, something you said on that tape was so helpful to me, I feel like I have been successful, if you will, because it's not about numbers. It's not, yes, I want you to subscribe. I want you to share. I want other people to join in with us. But at the end of the day, it's about touching lives. And you can touch one life and that life can touch another, and it can just sort of spiral out like throwing a pebble in a lake and the waves just kind of go out. So I just want to say thank you. This is week 5 for me. As you can see, I'm still figuring out the production value and trying to get this lighting together. I promise I will get better at this, but thank you for your patience. Thank you so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So this is Spirit Talk number 5 for today. And this one's going to be a little bit different, folks. And I will, at times do that. I may come up with a nice message to present and put it all together and it sounds really great. But then something will happen and the Spirit will move me in a different way. And I will just have to go with what is coming to me in that moment. And today is one of those days. So today's Spirit Talk is actually entitled Keeping It Real. And that's what I'm going to do today. I got to keep it real, folks. This morning when I woke up and I saw the cover of the New York Times for today, I posted it actually for those of you who follow me on Twitter and Facebook. I just didn't know what to say. The cover of the New York Times today essentially has a list of thousands of names of Americans that we have lost in the last 3 months to COVID-19. The headline itself says, nearly 100,000 Americans lost, an incalculable loss in the last 3 months. And it hit me in a way that I just had to take some time and really address it. And I want to keep it real. Yes, I'm a preacher. Yes, I tend to be an heir toward the more motivational and joyful, and we're going to get through this and hopeful. And that is all very, important and a part of who I am. But if you know anything about me, I'm also someone who is willing to call a spade and willing to speak out when I see injustice, when I see wrong, and also to keep things very real and authentic. Some people say they appreciate listening to me. Like, you keep it real, Rev Wendy. I don't know any other way to be. I am not going to get up here and say that it is okay that we have lost 100,000 Americans in less than 3 months, because that is not okay. It is not okay that we have been failed in many ways by those who we elected to guide and to lead and to protect us. I feel like that leadership has dropped the ball in many ways. I'm not naming names. I don't want to get into politics one way or the other, because there is finger pointing that can go all the way around the board, regardless of party or affiliation or anything. So I'm not doing that. I am simply expressing a righteous indignation about where we find ourselves as a country on this morning. And the fact that we've lost so many Americans. There were some of us who were around during the days of 9/11. I think I've talked about this in another talk. And if you were around or you remember that, we lost 3,000 Americans in one day due to terrorist attacks, the awful, terrorist attacks that happened on September 11th, 2001. And so in response to that, we put in place a number of safety precautions. We implemented some things so as to prevent something like that from happening again. And even the events that surrounded September 11th, after that, you had copycat folks trying to do other terrorist attacks, most notably a man who tried to put a bomb in his shoe and board an airplane. And he was thankfully thwarted. But as a result of that attempt, we to this day still take off our shoes before boarding a plane because one man attempted to rig his shoe and make it into a bomb and take it on one of our American airliners. So we put something in place to prevent that from happening again. And some might have considered it an overreaction, and maybe some still do, because there are people today like, why are we taking off our shoes to get on a plane? But that is what prompted us having to do that these days. And we went along with it, we still go along with it because it was assumed and it was taken that was done in order to protect us. I'm still waiting to see what's going to be done to help protect us from what's happening right now. This COVID-19 pandemic is not anything we've ever faced before in our country, in our world, that has created so much uncertainty and so much chaos. Now, I'm speaking from in my own lifetime. I know there are similar things that have happened prior to me being born. I'm only speaking in the context of my lifetime. But I do believe that there have not been enough precautions put in place and not enough information shared, so much misinformation out there in the airwaves. And I'm keeping it real today. That is not okay. And I think as religious leaders, we have to speak up about these things. We have to call them out. We have to let our leaders and those that we have selected to represent us know that we are not going to tolerate these types of actions happening in our world. So many of us sometimes feel voiceless and we feel powerless, almost as if we just kind of have to sit back and allow things to happen to us. And that is not always the case. And that is my charge for you today. I believe that the more of us that speak up and are real and are honest about how we're feeling and about what's happening, using our voices at the ballot box or in our local communities, at council meetings, wherever we need to do that, we need to do that yesterday. We need to start talking about how we are not satisfied and we are not going to allow 100,000 of our brothers and sisters to die in 3 months and that be okay. And we now attempt to return to some measure of normalcy when normalcy doesn't exist. The normal that we're seeking is going to have to change. We can't go back to the way things were. The way things were got us to where we are now. So to go back to that is deadly, in my opinion. And so I feel like as a preacher, as someone who has a voice and a platform, I want to make sure that I'm using it to speak out at what I feel like are injustices that are being inflicted upon us. And I want to encourage you all to do the same thing. I'm grief-stricken that we've lost so many people. I just had a range of emotions. Yes, I'm shocked. I'm grief-stricken. I noticed one of the, I was looking at the names. I was reading the names on the cover of the New York Times, and they put the name, they put the age, they put the state where they were from, but they also, put at least a little line. He was a generous spirit. He was a retired veteran. He was a teacher. She was a mother. They didn't want to just put a name. They want you to know about the life of that person. These were actual lives of people who did not know, many of them, that 3 months ago they would be dead. This for me is not just about a flu. I can't look at any flu season at this point in our history and see where we lost 100,000 people to the flu in 3 months. So I don't think that there's a way to sugarcoat this. And I know that we as faith leaders, that's what we are encouraged to do, to tell people it's going to be all right and it's okay. And yes, this happened, but it gets better by and by. It will get better, but I do not want to diminish just how hurtful and how shocking what is happening right now is. We have to be able to embrace the fullness of how we feel. That is a part of our humanity. We don't have to diminish any part of our feelings in order to let another feeling emerge. We can be the fullness of all of that. And so that's kind of what I'm feeling today. I'm angry and I'm hurt. I lost church members. Everybody has lost somebody, whether it's directly or indirectly. And of course, when one of us passes away, one of us suffers loss. We all suffer loss. But I just want to make sure that today I gave myself the opportunity to talk about how I really feel. Yes, I am hopeful that we will learn from this, but I just wish it wouldn't have taken this kind of a toll in order for us to suggest to ourselves that maybe some things need to change. Someone in the comments, hi there, said losing a person and the wonderful things they give to this world is always unfortunate. Absolutely. It's always unfortunate. And we grieve those persons and we grieve what they brought to us and we grieve the space that is left behind when they are there. But I think there's something even a little more edgy to the grief when you didn't necessarily expect that person to go. That 3 months ago, they seemed to be fine and in normal health. And then they suddenly developed a cold or a cough. And 2 months later, you're being invited to their funeral. I just, to me, that is a lot. And so today, friends, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on that, but today is just about keeping it real. I want you to make sure that you're keeping it real with yourselves about how you're feeling, and that we're keeping it real for ourselves as a nation about what we can do to not find ourselves in a place like this again. There are passages in scripture certainly where Jesus was keeping it real. He wasn't always just going around healing people. There were times where he was upset with the way the religious leaders were taking care of people and what they were instructing them to do. He was kicking over money tables when he went into the temple and saw them trying to raise money. He often got on the disciples and asked them, like, where is your faith? Why are you not speaking up? Why are you not doing, what it is I am showing you how to do? I'm living out an example before you that I want you to follow. And so that's sort of the Jesus I model myself after, the Jesus that was this rebel that spoke out against injustice and spoke to those in authority in a way that he made them understand that they were responsible, and that if they were not responsible, that the people would rise up against them, and the people were also allowed to hold them accountable for what they were not doing. So that's my charge for all of us today, is to remember that we do have a voice, that we can rise up, we can speak out, and we can talk about this not being okay. If we pull together our resources, and our resources are emotional, physical, and any tangible financial resources that we have together, I do think that there can be some changes made. So that's where I'll kind of turn this to a more hopeful talk. If we keep it real, there are ways that we can go about putting the types of people in office that we believe will represent our best interests and humanity's best interests. Sure, there's always going to be cheating. Sure, there's always going to be people that try to influence that. But I think that if enough of us who are of the mind of justice, of the mind of doing the right thing, even when it's hard, If there are enough of us who gather together and pool our resources and begin to run for these offices and begin to hold our leaders accountable in a very public fashion, I think that some changes can be made. That doesn't do anything for what has happened now, but what we can do is we can take what we're looking at now and we can use it to create better. And we have to be better. We will not survive as a nation, in my opinion, if we go through something like this again. This is an incalculable loss. It is going to have reverberations for years. We have not seen yet the impact, the fullness of the impact of this pandemic, because we are still in the midst of it. And I know that there are states that are reopening. God bless them. I was looking at some of the postings this weekend, and people are at the beach and in the pool and not wearing masks, and listen, God bless you. I don't know how you're able to do that and feel completely safe. I'm not judging you. I'm simply saying that for me, I just cannot imagine in this moment putting myself at risk, certainly, but mainly putting others at risk. And so for me, wearing masks is not just about me protecting myself, but it's about me having a care and a concern for others. I don't want to pass anything along to you. I can be asymptomatic and not know it. And I don't want to pass along anything to you. So of course I'm going to wear my mask until I feel like it's safe not to do that. And I would ask and I would pray that others would take that into consideration. Folks, this is an unprecedented time, and we do not know what it's going to look like on the other side. We're all kind of figuring things out as we go along. But all I'm asking today is that we be honest, we be forthcoming, and we be sober in our minds and in our thinking about what's happening. I am going to use, as I've said, whatever means necessary to call people out, to talk about how this is not okay, to preach a gospel, if you will, of freedom. That's what Martin Luther King said when he said, "An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." He was preaching a gospel of freedom. He was preaching a gospel that suggested that humanity matters, and that if there is injustice happening anywhere in humanity, it impacts justice to all of us. That's what I believe. That is what I will always preach. And I appreciate those of you who feel along those same lines and are willing to stand up and to speak out on behalf of what we want America to be. Thank you so much for listening today and just allowing me to kind of not really vent, but just speak. Because as I said, I could have put together a nice little flowery message with a nice, reference, and those are the things I typically do if I'm in that vein. But I was just not there today, so I had to come to you in a way and in a manner that I was feeling today. And I hope that you hear my heart. I love you all so much. Thank you again for tuning in every week. I really appreciate you. I do want to close out in prayer. Before I do that, I just ask that you please subscribe to the channel. As I said, share it with friends, push the notification button. You'll get a chance to, be notified when I go live. I'll be doing devotions, and I'm going to start doing some more reactions to sort of current events as well, to keep my channel even more active. So thank you so much. And I'll pray us out. Gracious God, we just want to lift up the names of the nearly 100,000 Americans who have lost their lives in the last 3 months to COVID-19. God, it is almost unfathomable to think that those 100,000 people were alive just 3 short months ago, and now they've gone on and transitioned out of this world. God, help us to process what is happening. Help us to manage our own responses and reactions and emotions, God. There's so many people I see on social media that are expressing depression and how they are not feeling any hope, how they are spiraling downward for various reasons. God, I speak up and out for them today. Help them to hold on. help them to begin to feel a sense of spiraling upward in whatever way they can do that. But God, I thank you that they are continuing to reach out, that they are letting people know how they feel so that in some ways, hopefully, they're not feeling like they're alone. And God, give us the strength to reach out to them, to touch friends, and to give phone calls, to check on people, even our strong friends. Everybody has moments. And God, I just ask that we remind ourselves to take care of each other during this time. God, I do pray for our leaders. I pray for an infusion of compassion, of wisdom, and of empathy, which seems to be lacking. God, I ask that you give that you grace them with that, because we need help. This is not okay. We want our world to be better as we move forward. So we look to you for that guidance. We look to you for a measure of peace and of assistance. God, thank you for not abandoning us during this period. We will strive to work together to make the world a better place, to make our country a better place. And God, we bless those whose lives were sacrificed in many ways during this time. May they be remembered and may they be blessed, their memories. In all of your holy names we pray. Amen. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for praying, and have a wonderful week. And I'll be posting again soon. Take care, everybody. Keep it real.